Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming. Let's start our today's event, our conversation. For those who are first time here, I would remind that we, as usual, we have 1 hour fire chat talk when I will be asking questions, and then we have half an hour, maybe 40 minutes for your questions. So be ready, make your questions tough, interesting. Valery is more than open to answer such questions. He's an experienced guy. But first of all, let me introduce our today's speaker. Valery is a unique character. We know each other for now like 15, maybe even more years. Valery is the father of Belarusian innovation ecosystem. He is the father of technology park in Minsk. And basically most of people who were then participating in the revolution of 2020, they were his people, which grew up in the technology park and in the technology companies. And I remember very much when we actually first time met in Moscow, and I was in charge of the same things in Russia. I was wondering whether it's at all possible in Belarus to create such a robust innovation ecosystem. But it turned out that it was possible, and it's because of this gentleman. Then Valery had an exciting career. He was a presidential candidate in Belarus, and at the moment he was the most high-level former government official to ever take place in Belarusian elections, which also speaks a lot about his character to survive the oppression and to go for elections. And now Valery is one of the most significant personalities, one of key leaders of Belarusian opposition. Did I miss something?
Yeah, well, thank you.
Just like speak in the mic, please, because it's streaming, and so it's that you will be heard.
Thank you, Ilya, for such introduction. I'm really excited to be here. So just I can see that there is a small piece of real Russia here on the American land. I do not speak about the embassy and just other trade missions. In fact, it's a lot of infrastructure that belongs to Russia here in Washington, D.C., including, by the way, many places that I visited. I was the ambassador of Belarus here a long time ago, and one of my mentor was Ilya Vorontsov, the person whom I respect a lot. And once I remember it was the celebration, Christmas celebration at Mormon Church, and you know, he was one of the keynote, if they not the keynote speaker, and his topic was about lights. And he was able to speak about lights for 20 minutes, and the audience was almost crying, you know, because he made such a great speech. So he was very intelligent, he was very knowledgeable person, and over a sudden when the next ambassador came, when he was replaced by Ushakov, you know, just it was such a drastic difference in knowledge, first of all knowledge, in the way the person spoke English, and you know, just in many other aspects, because Ilya Vorontsov really was a person who was thinking about the country, and you know, he felt the country. And I would say that a lot of things, in fact, about India, where his heart was, and you know, but thank you, Ilya, for recalling my experience in technology, and that's very right that I started to create Belarus High Tech Park, which by the time when I left it, I resigned. In fact, Lukashenko dismissed me because of the conflict with law enforcement agencies when they started to arrest software engineers and IT managers. I publicly opposed it, and we had a serious clash. And after that, he dismissed because he took the place of his law enforcement, but not the people who brought real money to Belarus and who brought real image that was completely different. We were able not only to create the industry, but we were able to make a completely different image of our country that was before associated with potato and agricultural tractors, but because of us, because of my project, Belarus appeared to be associated with the technology business because a lot of great companies originated there, like World of Tanks, like Viber, like EPAM, like PandaDoc. In fact, two of them made a successful IPO on New York Stock Exchange. So this is the story, and by the time I left, we had 75,000 software engineers employed. So it was quite a serious number in our high-tech park, and if you can multiply at least, just that all of them have families, just then the number of the people grew significantly. Not all of them probably participated in the events of 2020, and they were much more people that protested the forged elections in 2020. But I agree that Belarus software engineers played a key role because they are independent. Just they did not and do not owe the government or anybody their well-being, just their expertise and the money that they get. Lukashenko, the same way as Putin in Russia, people believe that just it's because of him, just they get money. And IT engineers, they have completely different mentality. They believe that it's because of them, just the regime exists, and they pay money, they pay taxes, and therefore they wanted to have a presentation. They wanted to have an opportunity to choose the political leadership.
Valery, actually, if you touch this subject, I would then probably start from this particular thing, because a lot of my friends and people in the Russian opposition, and just, reasonable people, they say, well, these technologies and authoritarianism is something incompatible. That technological systems, technology companies, that they need freedom, and they would not be able to develop otherwise, and vice versa. Then when they develop, they actually request democracy to come and democratic institutions to emerge. But in practice, first of all, I remember very well in Russia many of our leading IT companies, which were, by the time you were running the IT park, they were actually willing to relocate from Russia to Belarus. And that was at the time when Russia, compared to Belarus, was comparatively a free country.
Like Sberbank Technologies, for instance.
Yeah, Sberbank, EPAM, Luxoft, we can name a lot of examples. They're actually saying, Belarus is a safer place.
Originated from Belarus. So.
Oh, yeah, but then they had a large branch in Moscow, and then they started to relocate back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they started to grow more in Belarus, and the same Luxoft, is a company I was working with very closely. I just said, okay, so forget about Moscow, we moved to Minsk. And for me, at the beginning it was a surprise, but then Asia is a lot of example where, Singapore, many other countries, they're not democracies at all, but nevertheless, they are very vibrant innovation
China,
of
from
ecosystem.
Vietnam.
The same China, and others. But now, in the time of war, this problem actually becomes even worse, because one of my projects was special technology zone in Yelabuga in Tatarstan, where they now produce Shahed drones. One of them actually flew in my house in Kiev, almost killing my family. And obviously they were not doing it before, but as the war started, there was no resistance, there was no pushback. The guy whom I appointed to lead the zone actually became the top guy. Is now under all sanctions and like whatever, but he is leading that project. In Belarus, it was more complex stuff, because the same World of Tanks, for example, the guy who is the founder of World of Tanks, he actually supports Ukraine, and that's why in Russia he's identified as a terrorist and extremist. But World of Tanks branch in Russia was then spun off the company, and recently it was nationalized because somebody wanted to take it over. But nevertheless, he was not objecting to this. So it comes that, people may even have their own opinions, but nevertheless they do not resist what's going on. So what do you think? Whether those IT guys, this creative class, as Mr. Surkov once identified them, where they are the agents of the change, or they are just following what's going on in the country? How you see it?
Well, you're right about the fact that technologies can be developed also in countries where there is no democracy, like we can mention China. Now in China there is one very important element from my viewpoint, because Chinese people, they believe that though they do not have democracy, but they do have principles. And principles, it means that the same rules apply to everyone. The same rules apply to the person from the street, to the secretary of the local Communist Party branch, and to the highest top officials. And it worked when even the top management had to step down in 10 years, like 2 years in power, and then, they had to step down. And in fact, even the recruitment of the leadership, though it's a kind of a secret procedure, but normally the people know also abroad who would replace the current leader. So, that's a very important element, because in many so-called democracies, there are no principles. For instance, the laws will be applied to the person whom you don't like, but whatever my friends do, Rothenbergs and, just this type of guys, for them it's nothing, but the law will be applied only for those, who misbehave. So, and everybody can see, everybody understand that, this is not the democracy, and this is not the principles that can be applied. So in countries like China, in Vietnam, for instance, just like 10 years ago, approximately, I met the Minister of Technology, and smart, energetic guy who was, in fact, by coincidence, graduated from Minsk Radio Technical Institute of Information and Technology.
Then he definitely is the nice guy.
And I spoke with him, and he was stepping down from the position of the minister. I said, why? Because he said, well, this is the rules that we took from China, and I cannot stay more than 1 or just 2 terms maximum, and I have to resign. So, everybody in these countries believe that, there are certain principles, and if they see the guy, on TV, they understand that it's just a temporary guy, just in 5 years he will disappear, and someone else will replace it. And Xi Jinping, the current guy, well, he is the first, who made the exception after Deng Xiaoping. But, he made his career in the Communist Party of China. They have just an interesting story, when the documents are moving all over the Communist Party leadership, they make comments. And to the people, it's like approximately 400 people, they make comments over this or that document. And the people, they make their comments, and Xi Jinping was great, just because people saw how great comments he made, and he was promoted. Just everybody in the leadership. Well, it's not democracy. It's not the people. Yeah, it's not the people from the street that would decide who would lead. But just it's a different system, and anyone, it's a kind of a meritocracy. So the person, who is elected to be a leader, should be, highly judged by approximately 400 people. I may be mistaken in numbers, but I'm talking about principles now. So in our part of the world, just when these guys say that, laws will not apply to me and to my friends, but they will apply to all of other, just that's in fact what disappoints people. But not the lack of democracy, because, and by the way, they still have, just on the local level, just you can after all become a member of the Communist Party, just I remember all these periods of time, so we didn't feel very much, just in the society that we had a lack of democracy. If the Soviet Union would be economically successful like China, I think it would be still there. Anyway, this is maybe not the direct answer to your question regarding, just whether IT engineers or creative class can be a vehicle for changes. But I think that they are. In fact, in Belarus, they demonstrated. They are also, the people are loyal sometimes, and the people are sometimes, not sometimes, but in most of the circumstances, they have to obey, because they value, just what they have, and they do not want. And for IT engineers, it's even more important because they can go into internal immigration. They can, just if, for instance, a group of people like 200, for instance, in our case, work for Google from EPAM, it means that they live there, just they live in the different world, though they are physically located in Minsk, but, just in fact, mentally and, professionally, they are within the Google corporation.
How you would assess how many people physically left after 2020 Belarusian ecosystem and how many stayed?
They stopped to provide information, well, for very clear reasons. But we can say about the companies, like EPAM, for instance, I know, based on certain companies, had 15,000, now they have 5,000. Wargaming had 2,300, 2,300. Just after they left, and they gave it to the Russian honor, or they had just some special scheme, but they have 400. Now I don't know if they have just how many of them, but from 2,300 to 400, so just it's a significant reduce. Exadel, they had about 2,000 probably, now they have 100. So maybe smaller companies, they continue to stay, but the companies that had clients there. And the thing is that in case of Russia, it's terrible, terrible. So they cannot get any contracts. In case of Belarus, just if you had long-lasting clients, they can continue to work with. And they
but
do
are say American or European clients still buy services?
They are, they do not launch new projects, but they continue to support and develop the old one. For instance, for Google, I think that there's still, just people working for them, just because they manage the HR system for Google, not definitely their core business.
So you mean to say, HR system of Google worldwide has been managed from Belarus?
It was managed from Belarus.
Wow.
Yeah, but not the core business, not the search.
Now I understand how they block us our accounts on Google.
No, but just, and I don't know now if they continue to work. I'm not sure. Just I cannot say. I think that Goodyear, for instance, they continue to work because it's AI, but AI, just not the AI that, by the way, I will move now. If some of you have visited the exhibition that took place, just AI expert, great exhibition. I was very impressed, and I was impressed politically. We will discuss it later on, because half of the products that they demonstrated, they were demonstrated for American military. That will completely change the course of event, and I believe, again, I may be mistaken, but what Ukrainians did, sorry, I switched, in fact, just the topic.
We'll talk about this,
to
yes,
more political thing, but what Ukrainians did was, something that exceeds even the Israel blow up of pager of Hezbollah. Just because they demonstrated that they can reach anyone, not military targets. I think that Putin doesn't care about military targets. Well, he lost 10 planes or 12 planes or 15 planes built in. He doesn't care about that. He doesn't care about the country, and I don't think that he cares a lot about it. What he cares about, that just that this story can be extrapolated to him personally. And what I saw on this exhibition, the small drones, just they moved away. I tried to record it my phone. I could not do it because the speed was so high. But besides that, it was high. Just it went through different arcs. Just small tubes. Then they can move anywhere and they can detect the face. And it's, no one can intercept them, sorry. No one can intercept them. So they can move with unbelievable speed that I cannot see, and they can, use the trajectory that, just no one can use, then no one can track. And they can reach the person. So what does it mean? That in theory, because I don't know, just now the level of the Ukraine technology of drones, and just the opportunity to see the faces, but this technology is pretty simple. That Belarus company Senesis, just that appeared under sanctions, they were one of the top world companies, in fact, in face recognition.
And that's why in Russia, on all political events, all the faces are being recognized. And I can bet then in Belarus it's the same thing.
Yeah, but that's true. But just every technology can be used for good or bad. You can use an aircraft as a weapon to attack your enemy. I mean, commercial aircraft, not military aircraft. We saw it during September 11 events. And the same here. Just because the face recognition. When these guys came and, just they demonstrated their technology many times to me, and they were good technology because, just lost children, just on or elderly people that, just somehow forget where they are, who they are, just and so on and so forth, or criminals, detect real criminals, just they can see in, in a huge crowd of people and detect just what is necessary. Or if you are protecting the, just the road, and it analyzes the behavior of the people, and if behavior is strange, it can immediately give the information to the operator. So, technology in four hands appeared to be, just it started to be used by Lukashenko in order to detect the people that participated in peaceful protest of 2020 in Belarus. But drones, just this, if we are getting back to the exhibition that I attended, these drones, are small, effective, and it's not drones that one of my friends, in fact, invest in London, just the IT business that, for instance, monitor the construction of bridges. Just these are really for especially military purposes to detect someone who need to be eliminated. And I think if somebody would bring Putin to the peace talks, that would exactly this.
The drone.
Yes.
Yes,
Oh,
yeah.
the threat that just that he could be eliminated. If well,
You know that Russian soldiers at the front lines,
and what
they
would
need they
shoot,
no 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 no
just
no to actually vice versa, to stay alive, they need to follow the drone. That's the way how Russian soldiers surrender. You know, so
Yeah.
Ukrainians are sending special drones which guide Russian soldiers, which want to resign and which want to step back from fighting. So they need to follow the special drone. But to conclude on the technology, you are very passionate on this, and I had no doubt on this. But like to conclude the story on the technologies, who would be the better president of Belarus, Valery TSEPKALO or AI?
Valery TSEPKALO with the help of AI.
AI powered Valery TSEPKALO. All right, good.
AI is an instrument in our hands. I'm writing articles, just on these particular topics. I'm really passionate about this thing, and I do have in my IT project which involves AI. So so I know a little bit about the topic.
Good. So let's move to politics and speak about two non-AI powered presidents of Belarus, Mr. Lukashenko and Ms. Tikhanovskaya. We're in Russian opposition. We were for a very long time very jealous of you guys because you have like an elected leader, which was internationally recognized, and this is something that we don't have. And we kind of were looking at you and were saying, okay, so Belarusians are lucky because they have a leader with a mandate and recognition, and around such a leader, everything could be built. The government, the parliament, the new legislation, the new army, you name it. And then 5 years later, nothing of this materialized. So the recognition was kind of there. But it was very much limited with Svetlana Tikhanovskaya visiting one office or another office. But in the front lines in Ukraine, Belarusian troops, they are disunited. They have a competition between each other. There are still a lot of problems inside the ranks of the opposition. Why do you think is that?
Well,
sorry for I promise you tough questions.
First of all, I would like to make a comment. I used to have good relations with Senator Chuck Grassley, who is now, in fact, the temporary president of the U.S. Senate. An old person now, it's about 90 years old, I think. The oldest, probably, senator. And we many times met him, and I even went 3 times, I think, to his great state of Iowa for different agricultural tours, because he was very proud that he was the only acting farmer in the U.S. Congress. He was very proud of it. So, and we made stopovers in different, like medium or upper medium class Americans. And once, just we made a stopover with the guy who resembles exactly the same as Gerard Depardieu. Like, just like a clone. Just I was shocked because I said...
Did you check his tax declaration?
I said, look, just do you know that you just look like exactly one French actor? And he said, well, many people told me that. I need to have a look at the movies with his participation. So, but the next question, the first question, probably it was not this time, but just the question was, what country? What do you represent? I said, I represent Belarus. He said, is Belarus a country? I said, yes, it's a country. They say, the next question was, are you independent? Do you have independent? Yes, we are an independent country. You mean, does it mean that you have a president? Yes, I said, yes, we have a president. Congratulations. That's exactly what you said, that you envied because we had legally, just congratulations because you have a president, congratulations because, just you have a formally elected leader. What to congratulate with? You know, just you have to understand what kind of president we have. You shouldn't congratulate me with the fact that we have a president. Yeah, you should congratulate me with the person who is able to do something. You know, who was able to do something in his life, and he was able to do something for his country. And this is the same story about Tikhanovskaya. You know, just you didn't do anything, but you released 16 political prisoners. Well, some of them, like Navalny, was most probably assassinated in prison, but 16 people without any meetings on the high level. Do you know how much he released? Zero. We have still official 1,500 political prisoners, including her husband. She had meeting on top level, you know, just easily her husband could be released.
But maybe it was beyond her domain.
No, it was in her interest probably, you know, just for husband to sit there. It was in the interest of the group of people that are surrounded. You know, I'm serious because, you know, I offered several times in the beginning, I said, look, you know, just because when law enforcement, when army, you know, was hesitating, when the people massively went out to the street, I launched the initiative to arrest Lukashenko. You know, just at that time I spoke with her, I said, look, you know, just let me support, let me now, you know, just publicly support, and, you know, just on the level of, like Americans, for instance, they officially gave ransom for, you know, just if someone would arrest Maduro, you know, just like make an official step, you know, in that direction. They said, no, it can harm my reputation. So this is the, it can harm my reputation. Then, you know, just we offered to block the transit with the European Union and Belarus, because, you know, just if like for 3 days, if it would, the transit would be blocked, if the railway would be blocked, or at least, you know, to offer Polish European Union to block it, then it would be a collapse, and Xi Jinping would make a phone call to Putin, and Putin would make a phone call to Lukashenko, you know, just, and they would release political prisoners, all of them. They said, no, we do not want to do that, you know, because we think it's not a good idea. And, you know, there were several initiatives, you know, just that we brought on the table, and none of them worked. And it's simple, because, you know, just like Norway, they gave them 3 million for political prisoners. Even many countries, they gave them money for political prisoners. Do you know how they release, how they help political prisoners? They buy postcards, they write something to political prisoners and send them to Minsk. And the money is used for that. But I'm sure that half of the money is, you know, just are put on the pockets. You know, just because no one ever presented, you know, just the audit of how, you know, just this money was used. So, you know, just I do have ground, you know, just to believe that, you know, just having meetings on such high level, and if you are not able to release Masha at least, Maria Kolesnikova, release the person, you know, just who helped you to become who you are, because without Veronica and without Maria, you know, just it will not be Svetlana at all. Do you know how big was her team, you know, during 2020 elections? When it was my idea, in fact, to support her. Because Lukashenko thought that he's greasy, because he announced during the election that if they would be having, if she would be having $900,000, they would never be thinking about the interest of the people of Belarus. That was her political statement, you know, just during the times of elections. So, so that's what in fact happened in our case, and this is the reason I believe that they have an interest, because it's a financial interest. And just imagine if political prisoners would go out, if Maria would go out, you know, if Viktor Babarika would go out, if Sergei Tikhanovsky would go. These people that are around her, you know, they would cease to exist. And because Sergei would come and Maria would say, listen, who are these people? I haven't seen them in Belarus. They were not in 2020 or before. They didn't participate even in the rural council elections.
Valery, look, you know, we're all being in politics. There are always gazillion complaints about what we have done, and especially what we have not done. And many people are blaming me for not doing something, or Vadim here for not doing something, or many others. Uh, uh, but to me, the main question is why something was not done. I remember for the first time, in Ukraine, when in the aftermath of 2020, and when Tikhanovskaya was expelled from Belarus and stayed in Lithuania, I went to the office of the president with an idea. So let's organize a meeting. I said, that would be great, there is a shadow government of Belarus, we would create a shadow government of Russia, we should be partners, it would be supported and recognized by Ukraine, and that would be the alternative. Mr. Zelensky was saying that he would want to wear a torch of democracy, of freedom for all oppressed nations on the post-Soviet space, like coal. Then one group inside Ukrainian government said, we shouldn't do it, because Tikhanovskaya is an agent of FSB in Russia. Then, I went to another group. They said, no, we shouldn't do it because Tikhanovskaya is the agent of KGB in Belarus. Then I went to Lithuanians saying, like, if you're hosting her, is she an agent of a KGB or FSB? I said, we don't want to know this, because we made a bet on her, and it would be very dangerous for us if she would actually be an agent of KGB or FSB. But I don't believe in any conspirological theories. I think that when a person is doing something or not doing something, it has to be a rational idea that she is not there just to disrupt things, that she is not doing because she has a certain idea behind it. But the bottom line right now is, it's now almost 6 years after that elections, right? No, 5. 5 after that elections. Her mandate formally expired with the new elections. So she is right now no better than any other actor in the Belarusian opposition. But during this time, there was no such accomplishment that her office can say, okay, so we put an objective and we accomplished something.
No.
So why is that? How you would explain us this?
Simple. It's a basic law of politics, of politology as a science. Just don't listen to words, don't listen to what people say, look at interests. And the interest is very clear, just this group of people want to make money. Just if they are political prisoners in Belarus, they make money. If they are not political prisoners in Belarus, the money, just will disappear. If Lukashenko is in place, they make money. If Lukashenko will disappear, who are these people? They were nobody in Belarus. They didn't challenge Lukashenko.
But they may have the whole country for themselves. It's way more than...
Sorry?
But they may have the whole country for themselves.
Well, just if they would have roots, just if they had any activity, if they have an experience of speaking to grassroots people, just to talk to the people. I can give you
But she was voted for. That means she has something.
Who?
Tikhanovskaya.
I can tell you the story, just that she had 3 people, in fact 2, because, just when I spoke with her about, just to support as the only person, it was Oleg Moiseev, who now put bricks, he works in the construction industry and put bricks in wealthy Lithuanian citizen houses. Just one person who, in fact, protected her with his life, just during the electoral campaign. And the second is Maria Moroz was sent somewhere, I don't know what he does now in Warsaw in Poland. 2 people. They had more, but it was the people of Sergei Tikhanovsky, and the people of Sergei Tikhanovsky, several of them were taken together with him. So that was all the team that she had. And, I brought my people, and Victor Babarika, he had even more, just I had to admit that, just no secret in it, just he was preparing for the campaign longer than me openly, and he hired personnel, and just he spoke with people about his intentions. So just all the campaign were made by just my people and the people of Viktor Bobarik. Just that's it. But when she went abroad, just this her office, as you call, just these people, they didn't participate. They were not her people. They were not my people. They were not people of Viktor Bobarik. Just they were people that had long-lasting relations with the Western funds. And it's probably comfortable. Well, I may assume that Lithuanians instructed her because, just to take these people to the office. And after all, there are a couple of very strange things are happening, just because we saw millions of dollars moving on their account, but at the same time, we saw the former Minister of Foreign Affairs of Lithuania, who purchased recently, like half a year ago, approximately, when he was in the position of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Landsbergis, the grandson of Landsbergis that we all know from the old times. He purchased for 2.5 million euros the house in Greece. So, just no one was able to understand where did this money came from. Just because I don't believe that any Lithuanian businessman would give him money for what? What he can do, just that a Lithuanian businessman cannot do. Just they can say, for instance, I make great relations for you with the United States. No, just what they did, they took off the sanctions the people that were the people of Lukashenko. Like the guy that became very famous, just let me recall his name, that this story became public because the guy, he has a big cleaning company, and he clean Kremlin, he clean Lukashenko residences. So this type of people are very trustworthy to dictators because just if it's a cleaning company is allowed to go to Kremlin, well, you understand what does it mean. It's like a kind of a personal guide or like the personal cook that was Prigozhin. Yes. So I mean, these are very important and very close people to the inner circle. And this guy, he received, because he was definitely the person, the threat under sanctions, but he received the Lithuanian residence permit, permanent, and, and thus he was, just exempted from sanctions. He had the property in Italy, just and so on and so forth. So, just I assume, just that this money came from such businessmen. It's much more probable than, one of the Lithuanian businessmen that I have that have this Sinukai, just the system, I don't know if you ever had, but, and in Klaipėda, no, not in Klaipėda, in Kaunas, they have one of the biggest shopping malls. So the guy is a serious businessman. Why, just this person, why Landsbergis is in need for it?
But Valery, here's the question, because well, maybe I don't believe in this, but still one can imagine that say Tikhanovskaya's team is more interested in getting like immediate grants rather than in going back in Belarus and
they will not go. Okay, just give me one more example.
Yeah.
Well, one more example. There is a so-called independent theater. Independent theater that just one of the guys he created in London. They got approximately 20K salary per month, pounds, 20,000 for their family. Their theater consists of 2 of them and plus 7, just kind of actors, So they, from 1 to 2, sometimes 3 million pounds they have every year, just for donations from different funds that support independent Belarus theater. So they're the only one. So just imagine now, just that we are returning back to Belarus 20 years ago, you know, when I was there, when these theaters, independent theaters, were flourishing. You know, just they had to compete for viewers, you know, for they had to create good performances, stages, you know, just it was really very, very interesting period of time, you know, just and besides means they had to move to regional centers, to small and medium-sized cities and so on and so forth. But it was highly, highly competitive cultural environment. Now think about the moment, you know, just the guy that made performance, I saw it once, you know, just I'm not a big expert, and maybe it's a great performance that, you know, just the people were sitting on a chair, then they moved under the chair, then they stood on the chair, and it was like, you know, just a rotation of something, you know, probably it symbolized something, you know, just which I could not understand. But think about this type of performance, go back to Baranovich or Bobruisk, you know, just to Slutsk or Pinsk, you know, just, and, you know, just try to compete with other theaters, 20 other theaters, independent theaters for viewers. Do you think that this guy is interested in, you know, throwing Lukashenko from the power? Do you think that this guy is interested in returning back to Belarus, trying to compete for viewers? Interest should be in the core, you know, just look at them, you know, and you will understand, you know, just why they behave this way or not that way. Why they only fight with, you know, just for release political prisoners, you know. They cannot even release one female political prisoners. Come on, they could not release even Maria Kolesnikova. That's so shame. You met the president of, you know, just many states several times. It's real shame, you know, just, and I think that it's just hypocrisy, you know, just, and this is the reason I'm really angry.
Okay, so I see again as you are very passionate, almost as probably even more passionate than about AI and drones. but please, I understand that there could be a lot of selfish motivation in different people, but look at the Western nations. You know, again, we in Russian opposition, we experience a lot when we're talking to people here in DC or in Europe and say regime change, you know, we need to finally, you know, do something in Russia. And then they started saying, you know what, you know, nuclear arms, you know, it's too scary. And then if Russia would start to collapse, you know, maybe a civil war and, you know, this instability, disintegration, we don't want this, you know, it's better to keep things as they are, you know, it's too scary. But none of those arguments are applicable to Belarus. Belarus is small, manageable, and moreover, changes in Belarus can actually trigger a lot of positive changes in Russia. So, like, it would be an obvious objective, and having legitimate leader, elected leader, you know, to use it as an icebreaker to change the situation in Belarus. But instead, we see what we see. And again, the bottom line, nothing has happened. And you were saying that Lithuanians have supported this, and I saw Lithuanians supported it, Poland has supported it. But again, no result. Why do you think the West, and you were the former ambassador, why is the West not pressing this situation to actually achieve certain changes in Belarus?
Well, that's the question that, you know, I would like to ask them. I think
you probably have some theories.
Yeah, one of my theory is that you know, just the current Western politicians, you know, the people that were born with a golden spoon inside their mouth. It means that you know, just they were raised in a very comfortable positions, you know, and they never understood what does it mean to fight for democracy, to suffer from totalitarian regime. You know, their principle is not the principles that came out from their inside. Their principles is something that they learned only at school, at university, and they can only repeat like cacadus, you know, just the values of democracy, and that, you know, just we are staying for human rights without having a feeling of the essence of it. And that's, I think, you know, just there could be several reasons, but one of the reasons is that, you know, just what is strong in Western society, in democracies, that during normal, simple period of time when nothing is happening, when the economy is growing, you know, just the people are relaxed, you know, and they, in fact, choose the same politicians, you know, just that can speak nicely, but, you know, they didn't do anything in their life, you know, just, and they speak without the passion, you know, just, but when challenges come, then, you know, just de Gaulle appears, then Churchill appears, you know, just that they replaced Deladier and Chamberlain, you know, just, so, you know, just this is now the period of time that, you know, just we have Deladiers and Chamberlain, but we don't have any de Gaulle's on the horizon or Churchill, you know, just this type of strong politicians who, in fact, understood from the deep of their heart, you know, just what they were fighting for.
But Valery, I would bring you a counterexample, the example of Guaido in Venezuela. He was not even elected. I mean, he was the leader of a prominent force, but still it's a parliamentary force, so it was about the parliamentary elections. But nevertheless, he was recognized firstly by the United States and then by many other countries in the world as a legitimate president of Venezuela, even having no access to like military power in Venezuela. He was not run on the presidential elections, and he was given the authority over Venezuelan reserves. Citgo, you know, oil company, you know, PDVSA's branch was under his control. So like everything was given to him, and then he immediately disappeared as soon as the money was taken out. With Tikhanovskaya, the legal grounds were even stronger. Okay, we don't know the actual votes on the election, but many people suggest that she won the elections, and that at least what Western leaders was saying all the time, yes, that we believe that she won the elections, but if they believe but again, nothing like this happened. So game, you know, so okay, so this is another, you know, position, we support it, we pay money, but nothing actual politically meaningful action was undertaken by the Western nations. So it means it's the same people. In the case of Venezuela, they undertook this action, and in the case of Belarus, they did not. What does it say to us? Maybe the West already resigned that Belarus is under Russia's sphere of influence, or maybe it's too poor and there is no money to fight for. What's the reason?
No, I spoke many times with Juan Guaido. You mean him, right? First of all, and you know, just I asked, you know, just when he told me how he fiercely fought against the regime of Maduro, I asked him where you are. He said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, you're now permanently located. He said, I'm in Caracas. I said, okay, fine. You know, just, he said, well, I'm in Caracas, I'm the leader, you know, just of the parliament. I have, you know, everybody, you know, just, we have the majority in the parliament. I said, do you know how many opposition leaders we have? Opposition, not leaders, opposition people inside Belarus parliament. He looked at me and said, probably no. I said, yeah, you're right. You know, so you're talking about totalitarianism, you're talking about dictatorship, you know, just and how fiercely you fight, but you are located inside Caracas, and you have the majority in the parliament, and you're not arrested. You know, just so how you can compare the situation in Belarus and the situation in Venezuela. And by the way, you know, just Maduro you have to understand that the system that they created in many Latin Americans dictatorship, and Maduro is a very good example, that in Russia also, but in Belarus it's very highly characteristic. The guy is one who decides. Just no one else has the power. It's not like a joint stock company where just the first person has just the majority or the control part of the shares in the company. It's Unitarian company. It's just, just only one people that belong to the company, and he's the manager of the company, and so on and so forth. In Venezuela, it's different. And this is the reason of the sustainability of Maduro regime, because the generals that he has, they are responsible for different spheres of interest. One is, for instance, is in charge of the customs. Another is just a very nice beach area for 30 kilometers or whatever from, just 30 kilometers from Caracas. It's a long line of, nice beaches. And, if you would like to construct the hotel, you have to come to this guy, just to decide how you would construct the hotel. The third guy is responsible for giving the permission to bring some alcoholic beverages. So, just this guy, just they feel that they are part of the power. It's about like 100 people around Maduro, just that feel that they belong to this power. And that is the reason why they didn't want to flip. Just he was not the way that Putin, for instance, just like we saw Narishkin, right? Just he was like a schoolgirl, just that did some bad things, shaking when Putin was talking to him before on the eve of the aggression. It was not a state leader, just that we saw at that time. It was, I cannot even depict what I saw on TV. And in Venezuela, it's different. And I think that this is, just the major reason. You have the majority in the parliament, you have more or less democratic people, and the chances that they would flip were very, very high. But at the end of the day, just I spoke when Tikhanovskaya left the country, just I spoke with her. At that time, we all believed that it would be, all the story is not about money, but about the fight for Belarus. And I said that, look, you have to proclaim yourself as elected president. And she said, no, I cannot do that, and blah, blah, blah. I said, just now it's the time, because the people, you see hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people on the street. Just if you would proclaim yourself, just that it can flee. And he said, no, just, she's not an agent of the KGB. Well, she had an agreement, definitely. She received 15,000 from Lukashenko, and, and the guys that were in charge of the transit of Belarus potash, just it's Lithuanian businessmen, they were instructed, just to take care of her while in Lithuania. And I think that she agreed it. Just she took this part of the game, just for herself. But it's not that, just sometimes they say, Vichorko or whoever is, just they are agent of FSB or KGB. No, this is just the interest. It's objectively, they are interested in having Lukashenko and in having political prisoners, because the money comes. When we were talking about better times, just who they were, no one even knew this. They left, and the guy was just a marketing manager in Radio Free Liberty or whatever. He's just, in Prague. Just, and all of a sudden he became, just with big pockets, millions of dollars in, just his companies that he controls. Why he would love to have a democracy in Belarus.
Okay, I just, as a note,
Attack me,
very,
attack,
yes, yes,
And tell me if I'm
no,
right or if I'm
no,
right.
we're friends, so I like to play a role of devil's advocate. No, you're so easy to criticize Tikhanovskaya, but I didn't see a word of criticism towards the West. So you're saying as objective reasons, but let's continue. We don't have.
No, there is
that
another reason that they just don't care. So I mean, just if they would like to make nice pictures, they make nice pictures. But if people expect them to say good words, they say good words. But simply they do not care. One and another reason is that I started in the beginning of my conversation where I said that congratulations that you have a president. So then the knowledge about Belarus is like this. And what is happening and what happened in 2020, this is like knowledge. So they monitor Russia because Russia had nuclear weapons, Russia is huge, big country, very important, the member of the security of the UN Security Council. So Russia is Russia. So, and traditionally they have all these Sovietologists, that moved from being expert on the Soviet Union. They appear to be expert on Russia, but they're quite knowledgeable people. In terms of Belarus, sorry, but just no interest, and this is the third reason.
Okay, I won't touch this issue of coordination council of Belarus opposition, so the shadow parliament, as it was supposed to be. I was myself pretty much shocked that just 6,000 people showed up during elections. And I know you as the great enthusiast of online elections. And I remember your idea right after 2020, so let's have an online elections which would further build the legitimacy for shadow Belarus power structures. And no other members of Belarus oppositions actually followed you. But at the end of the day, this coordination council was created. There was a big campaign and just 6,000 people. And look now, the speaker of this council vanished with $150,000, I believe, right? So, and it was Russian media, Russian opposition media, who then made an investigation and turned out that she just fell in love with a KGB officer from Belarus, and so it was her wedding gift, this 150,000. So what's going on with these elections?
Well, that's only the fact that says much more than my words about the coordination council. That they were not even managed to create institutes, that they, can distribute money, just how money comes, who is in charge of it, just how to control it, the so-called revisionist or revision commission, auditing commission. It's in the Soviet Union, they called
audit committee. Yes.
Audit commission. So, they didn't create basic things. Just what coordination council are you talking about? If they were not, create the things that, just when you start the company, when you start, organization, the first thing you should think about, just how to, involve, engage the people into this activity. But the problem is from the very beginning, just because the people were not engaged. My idea was to penetrate inside Belarus, but the form that they offer was only an immigrant story. The immigrant story was not interesting for me, just because our proposal, was to launch a campaign, though people inside Belarus could not participate, but they could vote. And we developed with a certain company that is located in the US, in Boston, that organized a lot of online elections, on blockchain platforms, even in very difficult environments, like they organized it in Venezuela, they organized it in some African country, in Iraq they organized. So they made a lot of experience 300 or 400 elections they organized, you know. They have a background on it, and we spoke with 3 companies, you know, just because when you buy, you know, when you start to work on the computer, you use what? You use either Apple or you use Windows. You do not start to develop your own. These guys, they decided to develop their own. They say we would develop, you know, fine, you could develop, but, you know, just if there is trust in it, you know, just if the people would like to use this, you know, just from the point of view of data leakage, you know, just you're not responsible for that. And there's so many examples, you know, like the Black Book of Belarus that was run by Vichorka, you know, and the Peramoga plan, you know, just that was also run by Tikhanovskaya office, you know, just and the people that were affiliated with him, that they organized leakage of the most active people, and they appeared in KGB. You know, just whether they intentionally or not intentionally did that, it doesn't matter now, you know. But, you know, just the people can, how they can believe, you know, just that they would participate. If these, the same guys, you know, just they say we would develop a platform and don't worry, come and vote. Come on, you know, just, and I was started to be against it because, you know, if they would like to organize genuine elections, they would, we all should sit together and we said, look, you know, just let we choose on a tender-based principle, let we choose a platform. We can offer 3, you know, just, but let we create criteria, you know, just of this electoral platform, and based on this criteria, let we elect the platform. You know, from in terms of security, in terms of reliability, you know, just that's the core thing. You know, if you would like to go to accept votes inside Belarus, if you would like to penetrate, but you know, to be a part of the story that would later be leaked to KGB, and I would support it, you know, just should be no chances. And that was the reason why only 6,000 participated. What is 6,000? Babarika collected 400,000 signatures, people openly inside Belarus put. In my case, 220,000, you know, just signatures were, you know, just made for my endorsement. So I had the second record number of signatures for my endorsement in Belarus electoral history. Viktor Babarika, again, I have to admit, you know, just he was the front runner. He got twice as much. But, you know, but here is, it's not for 1 or 2 people. The number of signatures that people put, you know, just in Belarus, they put at the risk of their life, you know, just they put the signature, not life, sorry, you know, but at least the risk of their career, at least of the problem that they might have. And, you know, just many people were, in fact, sacked, they were dismissed from the position. There were a lot of military, there were a lot of people from the police, from the Ministry of Internal Affairs, and so on and so forth. So, but here, you know, just it was like a parody for the elections. And, you know, just, and the parody of the elections appeared to be later, that they got together, these people, they could not create institutes, they could not create even, you know, just the system how to observe the money. And, you know, the final is understandable. Someone grabbed money and bye-bye.
Hey, Valery, the last question about the opposition, because we're running out of time and I still want to touch some more issues with you, but just shortly, imagine yourself that you have the complete freedom to decide where Belarus opposition can concentrate on. And what you would like to do, to unite under better Tikhanovskaya as a person with legitimacy, or make another elections in some collective parliament or whatever, or focus on the military troops that are in Ukraine and building more military capacity to then go back to Belarus and change Lukashenko, or maybe to develop more of a partisan movement inside Belarus, or maybe something else. What would be your best strategy?
You know, the biggest treason of Tikhanovskaya, you know, just was not even this, you know, money issue, but that, you know, she stepped down from the principles we agreed during the elections. You know, I told her, look, you know, just if you would say that, you know, if you would start to promote yourself or to promote your program, just they would make a laugh on you. And, just the end will be what Lukashenko expected. The end would be like in 2015 when Tatiana Karatkevich was running. Just a part of Tikhanovskaya, she was a worker, social worker, just for like social security services, just she worked for. And, and she was on the ballot list. And, just people really voted for Lukashenko. So Lukashenko wanted to repeat this story in 2020. I read him like an open book, just I understood very well how he was thinking. And, just this was his scenario. So, just I didn't want him to repeat this scenario. And, just I told, look, we will support you if, just if you will not promote yourself. And if there would be only 2 paragraphs on your electoral agenda. Paragraph number 1, release all political prisoners after you will win. Paragraph number 2, in 5 months, new presidential elections, when Belarusians will be having an opportunity to vote for anyone they want. And, and it worked. This strategy worked because during 2020, during this female trio, just they never spoke anything about any positive agenda. They were talking only about these 2 principles because otherwise Maria and Veronica will turn their back immediately if she would start to say that I'm a leader. So when people went out to the street, all of them were thinking about their own leaders in mind. Someone were thinking about Viktor Babarika, someone were thinking about Sergei Tikhanovsky, someone were thinking about me, someone about Andrei Sannikov, someone about Nikolai Statkevich who was in prison, and many, many other, just people that somebody had in mind. And this strategy, appeared to be successful because it was based on principles. And on principles of free and fair elections that, that people were deprived of, deprived of this opportunity. So we brought them this hope that in one day they will go and vote for anyone they want to vote. The biggest treason of Tikhanovsky appeared to be that when she came away of Belarus, she announced that she's a leader. And, immediately everything,
But Valery, but what would be your question? What would be your strategy now?
As per, just military, that's a great question, in fact. The great question is that Lukashenko power is very, very weak. It's much weaker even than Putin, but, in case of Prigozhin, we saw, just how everybody were trembling. And this Russian god, just Zolotov was his name, right? Mm-hmm. So I can tell you some inside story, just that might be interesting for you. The friend of my wife, Veronica, who is originally from Mogilев, also, she married some Russian guy, and they lived on Rublevka. Rublevka is, if anyone knows, is just the most prestigious part of Russia, probably not even near Moscow. So, and Zolotov also, their family, they also have there. So, and they know each other. The guy, now I can speak openly about it, just he was a businessman, but strange business. Just his business was that he took money from businesses that had troubles and brought them to law enforcement or to judge, just in order to release from the prison, just the people who appeared who were under custody or appeared to be in prison.
Fixer.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Решала. So just and he very successful. Brought a lot of money home. Just and built nice house there. But he twice appeared in prison also, and he had both. He had the picture, just with some Russian officials, and in prison rope. Just so. And when Zolotov's wife made a phone call, they were just about to jump to the airplane to leave Moscow, you know. They were all, because Putin left, you know, just he were in his residence in Valdai, you know, just he left Kremlin. So they were all afraid, you know, just, and the Russian Guard, you know, they have 300,000, I believe, you know, just a lot of people, you know, just, he was about to leave. And he offered my wife's friend also, you know, to jump to the airplane with them. And she said, no, thank you, because she was like in the movie, famous movie when they changed Russian and, black and white, when they change colors, you know, just when reds come, they put red on it.
Different hats. Yeah,
but you know, and as a matter of fact, she was ready to put the necessary picture, you know, just inside her apartment. If Prigozhin's guys would come, you know, just she would put, you know, just as a victim of the regime, his husband, you know, just in a robe, so they will not touch him. But if everything will be okay, she will put the picture with the, you know, just some
mic.
So I mean, you know, just now I'm coming to my question. If, you know, not Kalinovsky battalion, but if it would be about 20 or 30 people that would with guns cross the border, you know, just, and start to move in the direction on one tank, you know, would move into direction of Minsk, you know, they will be joined by number of people, you know, just, it will be just a big movement and no one would stop them. If there is one condition, if the condition is very important, if they would claim that they are not for power, but they are for release political prisoners and free and fair elections.
Okay, interesting. So then the last...
Because Prigozhin, sorry, just one comment. When he was moving to Moscow, do you remember his motto? Why he was so successful? Same thing as we did in 2020. He said that he's not for power, but he's for justice. And for justice, and especially when he spoke with some in Rostov-na-Donu, when he spoke with some local military commander, and they spoke nicely to each other, and, you know, just Russians military saw that no threat. Come on, you know, just they could not resist.
Okay, so then, yeah, last thing that I want to touch with you, and we then open the floor, is about the war, the war stuff. You know, we living in Ukraine. It's like virtually every single month there is another wave of discussion whether Belarus would join the military aggression or not. Obviously, Belarus is given the grounds, you know, and the Russian troops are there, and then they can transit Belarus. But Belarus by itself is not part of the military campaign. Belarus troops are not invading Ukraine. What do you think? Are there any conditions under which Belarus can actually become the part of war? Whether it is against Ukraine or maybe against Poland or Baltic states, if Putin would do a ceasefire here but would decide to attack Poland, what would Lukashenko do? He still pretend that he is not here, he's just transiting.
I can speculate around what Lukashenko said to Putin or continues to tell Putin regarding Belarus army involvement into this war. Probably he used different language, but the essence is the following. You know, just they simply, both of them, they don't care about people, definitely. They don't care about if Belarus army will disappear in Ukraine, will be killed. No, this is not their concern. Their concern is that Belarus army may, when entering into Ukraine, may lay down their weapons, be recruited, and return back. You know, just, and that's their Lukashenko's largest fear. This is the reason I think that this scenario, I can absolutely exclude that Belarusians would enter into Ukraine. As for Lithuania, or Poland. Now at this stage, I do not believe that this scenario is likely, because it was very likely if Putin would succeed in Ukraine. Yeah, then I think that the next step would be Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia for dessert. So that would be very, very realistic story. And that, I think, was even in the plans. But Ukrainian broke everything, and I don't think that now they can afford for them to fight on two fronts.
Thank you very much for this, and I am opening the floor for questions. Andrei, you were the first, right?
To the situation you described when a small group of militants invade Belarus and will be just growing up and join other people. The major condition of this is defeating Russia, because Putin immediately will provide help to Lukashenko and just send troops. I believe this is a major condition of success of such a group. Otherwise, it will not succeed.
I would reformulate it as a question, because that's our eternal argument with Belarus opposition. You know, what is the sequence of events? I'm always saying, let's first defeat Putin together with Kalinovsky, like with other formations. Let's destroy that regime, and then we will even help you to liberate Belarus and decide how you want to live. Because otherwise, I believe that, you know, I agree with Andrei that he would intervene. A lot of guys from Belarus are saying the other way around. Let's conquer Minsk, and Russians would see that, you know, it failed, and you know, they would take it as an example, and they would rebel and remove Putin. What's your position?
Well, definitely after the change of power in Kremlin, you know, just there will be changes in Belarus. That's very obvious, you know. But in this case, you know, just we don't have to do anything. I mean, just to wait until you will decide the problem inside Russia. So I don't think that this is right strategy for us. We have to think about different scenarios. And after all, you know, just we have to speak with the people that fight inside Ukraine, this Kalinovsky battalion, you know, just if they are ready for such intrusion, because now the major restrictions is that they're not allowed by Ukrainians.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is just the major restrictions. However, there are a lot of diplomatic tricks, you know, just that can be used. For instance...
no, but the Ukrainian logic is the one that I have said. That's, okay, even if you are successful, even if you would come to Minsk, even if you remove Lukashenko, the very next day, Russians would come anyway, and then the whole of Belarus would turn against Ukraine. So that's why, you know, you better sit tight and don't do nothing in Belarus. That's the logic.
No, well, you know, it has right to exist, definitely. I mean, this logic, and, you know, just it's necessary to take into consideration also such a scenario. If, you know, just the message would be, if the message would be just clearly pro-Western orientation, be a part of NATO, and so on and so forth, that would definitely happen. You know, just, but if it would be the message, as I said, you know, just give Belarusians a chance, you know, just to choose the leader they want, then probably, you know, just there is a chance that, you know, this intervention would be different. But anyway, you know, just even if Belarus will be conquered, you know, just then by Russia, again, it will be the story after Putin, you know, just will step down from the power. Because, you know, just what is our, in fact, strategy now, or tactic approach, I would put it this way, you know, is that anyway, Putin and Lukashenko, after some time, will step down from power. You know, just that's inevitable. We saw it in many times. What I know for sure, that it will be 2-year period of a little bit of chaotic, let me make it this way. So just the period that would be having a chance for all the opposition leaders in Belarus, in Russia, those also that are outside of the country, and anything can ignite the situation. Nobody expected Prigozhin's coup, just now it can be something different. Putin doesn't want, I think, now to stop the war, not because he didn't achieve his targets, but because I think he's afraid of a lot of people that were on the front, that possess weapons, just that can change the situation inside the country if something happens. So, and it will be a period of, also uncontrolled period. Now it's easy, just you send the people on the front, you can control the situation inside. Now it's easy to manage the situation inside the country. But if they would stop, just then it would be very serious problems. And, just I don't know now, just what you understand, what is your definition that Russia will be defeated. Now, this definition is very, very wide, and, even peaceful agreement on the current circumstances by many can be considered as the defeat of Russia.
To me, Russia is defeated if there is still status quo. To me, Russia wins if we remove Putin from power. That means that we won.
Okay.
And that Russia won.
That's, yeah,
Yeah, so
sense.
it's very, very, very simple, It's like, Vadim, you want to ask? Yes, I have just take the email.
Good to see you, Valery, in Washington, D.C. It's my question. You know Lukashenko from his early days in power. You were in his team when he got elected. You worked with him in different positions, different government positions. You were friends and you followed out. Friends is too big of a word, but you saw him very closely. You watch him doing things, making decisions. You just mentioned that you read him as a book. What is his plan?
Well, it's easy to read Lukashenko because he's based on, his behavior is based on instincts. Just he cannot be considered as a normal human being, that we saw in 2020. When someone promises such obvious thing, like when 100 people would come out to the street, I will step down, and I will not keep with my fingers to the back of it. Just all these type of things. For a normal person, we would think that, he would follow his word. That's how we were trained, then that's how we understood it. Yes, I was in the beginning of his team, and we really wanted changes in Belarus. And, just I made, in fact, 2 mistakes. The first one was, Lukashenko. The second was, just created Tikhanovskaya. Because the reason is that, I extrapolate what I would do, I'm intelligent and clever enough in order to continue my activity even without the power, or after I would step down from the power. But these people appeared to be different, and I thought that they are like, like myself, and because we read the same books, we were trained on the same principles, and if somebody didn't follow, just it's a big mistake. For me, it was, even in the beginning, I can show you that, you could not reveal Lukashenko as a personality, because who brought me, who introduced me to Lukashenko? It was Alexander Feduta. You know, Alexander Feduta, we were sitting in Oktyabrskaya hotel, you know, drinking some beer, you know, we have a bottle of beer and, you know, just some lunch, and Lukashenko was moving out and he knew. So he sat down at our table and we started the discussion. And, you know, just when presidential elections happened, after all, I supported, you know, just I didn't try to make my career, you know, just with somebody who is in power. You know, just I was in opposition and we risked our lives also at the time because we didn't know how how the current government would behave. They could kill us also. You know, just it was the same dangerous, or probably not the same dangerous, but it was also dangerous to challenge at that time the communist regime or proto-communist regime as to challenge Lukashenko now. So, you know, just somebody would think, oh, well, you're together with Lukashenko. Lukashenko was on the ground, you know, just the person who made the career. And when several times, Alexander Feduta, probably you don't know him, but for 5 years has been sitting in a prison. You know, just he was kidnapped from Moscow and brought into prison in Minsk. You know, just he wrote a letter of his resignation to Lukashenko. And, you know, just, Lukashenko just tear them apart. I said, you know, I don't want to concede it. Then after some conflict, you know, just inside the team, you know, he wrote another letter of resignation. That was after election. He was acting the president at the time. So, and he wrote something on the decision, you know, just that I'm not the person to get rid of friends. That was, you know, just Alexander then showed me this, you know, written resolution of Lukashenko, you know, just, and it spoke something about the personality. And if somebody said, oh, you could not see, you know, just the guy who would become then, who would be, you know, rebirth as a monster. It was, you know, an interesting American movie, how Natasha Henstridge plays, you know, just how inside of a beautiful woman appeared to be a monster. You know, just, you know, just you couldn't see it. I couldn't predict it. And as a matter of fact, the same was true about Viktor Gonchar, who was assassinated by Lukashenko under his comment. And the same happened with Zakharenko, you know, just whom we were very close, Yuri Zakharenko, who was also assassinated. And, you know, just in all my career, I never venerated Lukashenko. You know, just, and this was the reason I never became a minister or having any high position. I created High Tech Park, but, you know, just I was not even an official bureaucrat. I was the first deputy foreign minister, that's right. But before that, I was the advisor to the CIS Secretary General, Executive Secretary, Commonwealth of Independent States. At that time, you know, just I met all the presidents, you know, we organized the meeting of the president of the post-Soviet countries, the prime ministers, ministers of foreign affairs. I met many times with Kozyrev, with Primakov, who told a lot of interesting stories. You know, he was the soul of any meeting on the level of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and everybody were close to him because he knew so many jokes. So, you know, just I was the person involved in the politics. I didn't came from nobody. And before that, I was the advisor of Stanislav Shushkevich, you know, just who was the acting head of the state, the acting president at that time, though not elected directly by the people, but, you know, just I was his advisor. So, you know, just that's, but, you know, just if you speak like, for instance, some other people, I do not want to name them, but you know them for sure, ministers that are inside your council or whatever, it is just, you know, you can see tons of, you know, just beautiful words, how great is Lukashenko is, you know, just that Belarus is blessed to have the leader like him and so on and so forth. Now he's in opposition, you know, he criticized him the same way, but he produced tons of nice, beautiful words on him. You know, you cannot find a word that I said, you know, just that I venerated.
Valery.
And that's a difference.
Valery, no, it was, I admire your skills, political skills in telling us so many beautiful stories, but avoiding answering the question. Because you were speaking about the past, but what's about the future? What's Lukashenko's plan?
Well, he doesn't have plans because he's an animal. His only plan is to stay in power. You know, whatever it takes and whatever cost, you know, just he can behave yourself. When I was a kid, you know, just I went for hunting with my father, and, you know, just all of a sudden we saw these small birds running. I don't know how they would be in English, kuropatka probably. Someone can help me. How? Partridge, okay. Yeah, you know, there were a group of them, and they were running. You know, just so they were running, and, you know, just I started to run after them, and all of a sudden they disappeared. It was just, I mean, 10 or probably 12 of them, and all of a sudden they disappeared. You know, just I couldn't believe my eyes. So I, you know, just I started to browse, it was the grass, I started to browse, I took one of these birds, you know, and it was dead, you know, just it was so, the mosquito was on it, or, you know, just, so it was a dead bird, you know, just I moved it, eyes were blank, you know, just, I saw, you know, just probably they were so scared, you know, just that I ran after them, they you know, just they died. It's heart attack, you know, just all of these birds. And I put the bird on the grass, you know, just 2 meters away, and they all ran down and away. So, you know, just this is what Lukashenko is about. You know, just when he lived with animals.
Lukashenko about Belarus opposition, or Belarus opposition is like this.
He tells about Lukashenko's plans. Lukashenko is, you know, he lived with animals, you know, just in all his life, you know, and when it's necessary, he's a tiger, when he see that the sheep, you know, around him. But with a wolf, you know, he's a sheep, you know, just, and he can pretend that he is very ill, oh my gosh, you know, just so please, you know, feel sorry about his health, you know, issues and so on and so forth. But then when he see his sheep, you know, I mean, his ministers, subordinates, he's again a wolf, you know. This is everything else he doesn't care, you know, just like the fact that 100 or 50,000 software engineers left the country, you know, just the country completely ruined under sanctions. He doesn't care about it, you know, just because the only thing he cares about is his own well-being, his own power.
Are you okay with the answer?
Just to stay in power and to do everything.
But in order to stay in power, what must he do? What is thinking of doing? Just re-election after election?
Yeah, exactly. He would not allow any elections anymore. You know, it was the biggest stress in his life. You know, just
in terms with the relations with the West. I'm sorry. In terms of the relationship with the West, what he intends to do? What do you think? You read his mind. What would be the next move with the West? Not with Moscow, not with Beijing, but with the West.
There was this visits of the State Department guys in Belarus. For, you know, maybe they mean something.
He would like to have, you know, better relations with the West. That's for sure. That's for sure. The problem is now that I cannot imagine Western politicians on more or less high level that would shake hand with him. That's the problem. But, you know, just he would love to have great relations with the United States with only one condition. No one can claim power and no one can say, intervene in, you know, what I'm doing inside. Everything else he's ready for, you know, but, you know, just accept his power.
I don't have a question, but I have 2 comments. One, you mentioned interest, that we should look at the interest, not at the words. And I have a theory why the West treats Belarus like this, because Tikhanovsky is based in Lithuania. And Lithuania is a relatively small country, but it's part of the West, and probably other Western countries listen to Lithuania's opinion on this. And some people would say that Lithuania has much to lose if Belarus will become, independent, economically thriving, like IT. Lithuania will lose some luster, and besides, they have common history and whatnot. That's one part. And another comment is why techno people, like IT people, might prefer authoritarian regime to democracy. In case of Moscow and Belarus was always more oppressive than Russia at some for most of the post-Soviet Union history. But I know some people of liberal inclinations, but they would rather send their families to Minsk because cost of life lower and street crime is lower. And look, another example in this country, why so many techno people support Trump with his authoritarian tendencies? Well, because they think that the current liberal model is not functioning very well. Like if you look at level of trust in Congress, it's one of the lowest, I think, like 18% of the voters, they have trust in Congress. That's my two comments. Thank you.
Well, I will make just a comment. I would 100% agree with you that it's in the interest of Lithuania to keep Belarus as it is. Back on the times of the Soviet Union, Lithuania was a province of the Soviet Union. We all know that. They didn't have any industry. There was an agricultural country. Just in Latvia, they at least have this rough microelectronic, and also they're assembling.
Some people in Belarusian opposition even say that it was a province of Belarus. Which actually provoked a lot of tensions there.
Province of the Soviet Union, just with absolutely no, even more provincial than Latvia, because in Latvia they have the industry at least, In Lithuania they didn't have any industry, not even one brand, the Soviet, or even now after the collapse of the Soviet Union, not even one brand that would be known globally is known. So inside the European Union, Lithuania is also a province. Just for the same reason that we don't know even one brand or just nothing that can be associated, no product that can be associated with this country. So it's definitely in their interest, just to keep Belarus as it is. Just when I was developing high-tech park, just after some time they tried to make in Vilnius Park, but it was just, a very funny clone, just not even clone, just it was a caricature, just of the technology park comparing with what we did. Just we have industry, we have movement, just the people were, just the conference all over, and nothing was happening there. So, just after these events of 2020, how many people moved to Lithuania? A lot. EPAM, Wargaming, just moved their major office and so on and so forth. And after all, I think seven, maybe I'm mistaken, but at least several companies are the highest taxpayers now, or Belarusian companies, just in Lithuania. So, just they created the industry, they benefited from the situation inside Belarus. And the second thing that they benefit is that they can bring, Tikhanovskaya said that she's a leader, and they can bring to Washington, so that just attract additional attention to them. And the interest, because the money comes to them, to Lithuanian-based NGOs, and then we don't know how this money will disappear. But when the time comes, and the time will definitely come, we will demand, to show Belarusians who were the recipient of the money, how they were distributed, because now they can show, listen, just because it's a danger for these people inside Belarus, just we cannot provide this information, fine. But everything is fixed, just all the financial transactions are there. So then when the time comes, we will open criminal charges against, just stealing the Western money, because 300 million, according to, official statements of the United States and the European Union, 300 million that's supposed to come to Belarusian people. And Belarusian people should know who were the beneficiaries of this money. And, we will find out. We'll open the criminal case, and within the cooperation with law enforcement agencies, also in Lithuania, we will publish all this information publicly. Because at the time when there will be no danger for inside Belarus for the people that were the recipient of the money. If they went to the political prisoners, we would give even more to them. The state will even pay their money for the fact that they were kept in prison for nothing, illegally. The state should compensate like a normal procedure that exists everywhere in the world. They will be rehabilitated, that's for sure, and awarded. But the money that's supposed to come to them within this 5-year period, we have to make a discovery. That's our responsibility in front of Belarusian people.
Friends, we are working for already an hour and 45 minutes. Yeah, so what
people are exhausted.
I propose to do, no, I don't propose to stop.
Speculation.
I just propose to change gears and to continue this informally with wine, with snacks, which our team, where is Christina, so. Yes, just don't play mask here, yes.
Thank you. And we expect a brief answer too.
Yes or no?
Imagine, Valery, imagine that a miracle happens. And you in the room with Donald Trump, Marco Rubio, and defense secretary, say, okay, and CIA, the head of CIA, all the brass is there. You have 5 minutes to state your case. And the case is what is to be done with Belarus. What would you say? 5 minutes.
Well, in 2 minutes I will answer the question. First steps, urgent steps, should be immediate. The first step should be allow to and ask European and American partners to issue Belarusians electronic visa. So they will not stay in the lines, so the embassies cannot do it. So let Belarusians move freely to Western Europe and to the United States of America, just like Ukrainians can do it, 10 years visa, electronic format, then you can travel. One thing. The second thing is that allow Belarusians to open accounts, Belarusian small and medium-sized businesses, those who are located inside, allow them to open accounts, banking accounts in the Western countries, so Lukashenko will not see the money that comes there. That's very important, because now with all these sanctions, his products are not sanctioned, like wooden chips, potash, oil and gas fertilizers, that are manufactured from gas. So they are not taxed. They are not sanctioned because, they know how to do it via Kazakh companies or, Turkish companies. They come to the European Union anyway. So, just make a strict sanctions on everything that is located with Lukashenko pockets, and, allow Belarusians to come freely to Europe, open account, make the business, grab money, bring cash, to Belarus, and let him not see anything. And allow the people, because then, just the money that is used, then can be, then can come to the final destinations, because people can carry them. The biggest amount of people will start to move then, just, so this is basically several steps, just then definitely, just put an ultimatum to Lukashenko, together with European partners, it's necessary to do that, together with European partners, to release political prisoners. Otherwise, we will stop all the transit from, first of all, through Russia, from China to Europe. Let me do it for 1 week. Just in 3 days, they have 60, 70 trains, cargo trains crossing the Belarus-Polish border a day. So if you imagine for 3-4 days, just if they will be not crossing, Xi Jinping will say, look, we have an agreement with you that you will settle this problem. I don't care, I will not call on your behalf, just, I will not, you promised me to solve the problem. I don't care about your political prisoners, I don't care about nothing. Just make it work, because I need Chinese goods come to the European market. He will be immediately disappeared. All these people will be free.
What's the win for US?
Sorry?
What's the win for US? What's the win-win?
The US, just the situation inside the situation will, just after all, business again can start in Belarus. When Lukashenko will step down, that's what you mean.
They will
Because, just I have more serious, just I saw it on exhibition, just some drones, but I think that, just you cannot speak on that level, just this type of tricks, just that can be used.
Yeah, we can use drones to stop trains, no problem. Again, Valery, thank you very much, and thanks to everybody for coming. And once again, don't forget that we are here, dependent on your donations, QR codes here, there, everywhere. Don't forget to make pictures of those QR codes. That would help a lot. And we continue this discussion just informally. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.